Hey, how do you do? Thanks for having me. So I'm Tim, as you've just heard. I founded the Tiny Cannabis Club with a group of friends. We're a collective. We've been going for several years now. And our primary purpose is well-being and helping members of the cannabis community who use cannabis medicinally. We support recreational users also, but our focus has become purely recreational over the past few years. So that gives us a great insight into the current law in the UK. We obviously have a close interest in cannabis social clubs and what that model might be in the UK. We've currently got some vaping lounges, and I'll talk about those later. The Tiny Cannabis Club, we kind of brand ourselves as probably the tiniest cannabis club in the world. And the reason why we refer to ourselves like that is our club members meet virtually. We use a Zoom system to meet up. We have 24-hour lounges that people can access. And we try to host 420 every day. We've had thousands of sessions now concurrently over the last few years. And we've counted up thousands and thousands of hours of people talking to one another. And this is the kind of stuff that people would do in a normal cannabis club. People meet up to socialise. And of course, there are many people who, for one reason or another, physical issues, mobility issues, physical health issues, mental health issues, but also people who just, stay in and don't necessarily want to go out to and make the effort to go out to a formal social club. Obviously, in the UK, there are social clubs like you have here in Tenerife, far few. We really don't have many. There are smoking clubs, and I'm not going to name any of them or give any reference to them because we live in a terrible situation. Obviously, the war on drugs, the biggest waste of energy and money that our century's seen. That's strong in the UK. Cannabis clubs are fully illegal. Selling cannabis outside of the medical profession is fully illegal. And what we have found now, and this is where I'll just touch on the legality of being able to run a kind of cannabis club in the UK, is various lounges have hosted evenings for medical cannabis users. So there are loads of people who use a Mighty or another vaporizer, oils obviously. Now in the UK right now you can host anywhere where the owner gives permission. You can host a vaporizing evening, and in fact the United Kingdom Patients Alliance held a 420 vape party in Brighton just last month during or at the end of the Medical Cannabis Awareness Week that's held over there. They hosted it in a normal regular cafe, got permission from the owner. All of the invitees were medical cannabis patients. And if you've got a medical cannabis prescription, your medicine is just that, it's a medicine, which means that you're protected, you've got certain rights, just like you would for taking any of your other medications. You can't be restricted from doing so, you can't be discriminated against for your medication. And interestingly enough, in the UK, in the workplace, we can't actually ask and challenge our employees regarding their medication or regarding their physical or health status. It's a purely voluntary thing. The only way that you can make inquiries is if somebody is inebriated because of a medicine, and you wouldn't be asking what medicine are you on. You'd be asking the appropriate authority in your business to determine if your employee was inebriated, and then it would go to another level where they'd determine why, and and like we know with various medicines, people do get accidentally over medicated sometimes, or sometimes people need a certain level of medication which can be perceived as inebriation. So yeah, like I said, a little bit of a sidetrack there. But as a club, what we try to do is provide a service for medical cannabis users to meet online. We don't have any kind of product sales or anything like that. We're largely a philanthropic organisation, so we've started taking membership payments now to help us grow, build the club, help with paying for engagerivism. One of the things that we try to do, produce infographics for members to give to their employers. We've had large multinational companies who have supported their cannabis patient employees by either providing them with places where they can medicate, helping them to get occupational health approvals for various medications, which in certain roles in certain businesses are a requirement for almost any medication if you're doing certain jobs. But also we've had members whose employers have sent out formal letters recognising Medical Cannabis Awareness Week, recognising medical cannabis and explaining to their employees that they have a number of employees who have benefited from medical cannabis. Did you know that medical cannabis was legal in the UK? And really helping spread awareness. And that's what we're really about, is trying to get the use of cannabis mainstream, helping people who need to use medical cannabis but have no idea about it to discover it. And that's one of the really important things, having a mature conversation, being able to articulate the facts, the safety story, all of those type of things to employees, to employers, to potential patients. And that's the real key thing. You meet people every day, and anybody here who's in the cannabis trade, in the cannabis business, or in the cannabis community will know that they have met people who say, oh, anecdotally, I know somebody who could benefit from cannabis. There are a lot of people out there who are really surprised when they discover that cannabis is legal in the UK. So we've had legal cannabis for 4 years now. Why would it be that medical cannabis is still, such a secretive topic? And it's all about communication. A lot of medicines, medications, you can't advertise like you can in certain countries. You can't advertise. So, and medication like cannabis being a trial drug, you can't put a poster up advertising Kiron or Zerenia clinics or anything like that with cannabis as a drug being mentioned. So that's where we've got an opportunity. We're advocates. Anybody who, I guess everybody watching online here today, everybody who I work with and everybody here at the Cannabis Convention, the CannariasMag and the Cannabis Cup, Cannacer Cup, we've got the opportunity to demonstrate what safe and mature cannabis use is about. In our case in the UK, we've got the opportunity to take our cannabis and do things. So we can go to shops and venues and businesses. An example is one of our founding members wanted to visit a reggae festival, contacted the venue and said, I'm a medical cannabis user, I'm a medical cannabis patient. I'd like to be provided with a space to consume a cannabis if you've got a problem with me using it anywhere. And I'd like your consent that I'm bringing this and there won't be any issue at the gate. And their response was pretty negative. It was a kind of, well, you probably can't bring illegal drugs onto our site. And, our friend contacted them back and explained this isn't an illegal drug, this is a medication. And they were still, pushing back. And so she did something that you would not expect. she contacted Thames Valley Police, which is a police force in the UK, and explained to them, I need to go to a venue with my legal medication, and I'm concerned that when I get there, you guys might be called, the police might be called to stop me from entering. And anyway, their response wasn't just, oh, thanks for making us aware. Their response was, if that does happen, you have our full support that will help you get into the venue safely with your medication. And that's a great testament to the kind of things that people can do when they've got access to medication and cannabis themselves. So I guess that leads us on into the medical cannabis situation in the UK right now. Medical cannabis has been legal for 4 years. How do you get a prescription? What do you do? In the UK, if you suffer from a number of conditions, chronic pain, Crohn's, epilepsy, anxiety, general anxiety, post-cancer treatment issues, and have tried 2 previous medications which you found didn't work to your satisfaction, you can request a meeting with a doctor from a number. We have about 10 clinics in the UK now, and you can book yourself an appointment, explain initially to a patient advisor what kind of issue you might want to talk about. And so they'll ask you, what illnesses you've had, what medications you've had, or a number, and they'll get a kind of assessment to see if you're right. Then they'll book you an appointment with a doctor, psychiatrist, or a doctor, depending on what you need to talk about. And most people in the UK, if they have an appropriate condition, and they won't get through the initial assessment if they don't, but most people in the UK can go from having an assessment to having a delivery of cannabis within a fortnight, within 2 weeks, which is, obviously fantastic and life-changing. So one of the things that you and I can do if you're a UK cannabis patient is talk on your social media channels, not just in the cannabis channels, but if you have a personal, Facebook or Instagram account, make sure that you talk about your medication publicly. Family members will come forward, friends will come forward, and they'll share. I'm getting looked at I'm being told to wrap up. But yeah, most important things that I want to leave with you here are, if you're a medical cannabis patient, get out there and use your cannabis publicly. Engage with your audience in a mature manner. Demonstrate that this is a safe medication. Talk to your employer. Make them aware. And yeah,